Well, I remember one year, and it's been a while, to be honest. But I was like, I'm going to give up something for Lent. Now, I gave up, this is really a big circle back to what's been happening in my life. I gave up shopping at Kohl's, only at Kohl's.
As the cold winds of winter sweep in, there's nothing like the warmth of a comforting cup to help you slow down and unwind. This is the season. Let Postum be your cozy companion. Made from roasted grains, Postum is caffeine-free and rich with a smooth roasted flavor. It's the perfect drink for those quiet, chilly mornings. Whether you're curled up with a good book, sharing a laugh with loved ones, or simply watching the snow fall outside, a cup of Postum is the moment you have been waiting for.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Mormons with your hosts, Matt and Melissa.
Welcome, Matt. I'm so glad that you've decided to join me today for what is sure to be an entertaining, engaging, intelligent conversation about all things Mormon.
We're going to make sure that we hit the news topics and not monologue too long or discuss them too much. We're just going to hit the news, Melissa.
That's
News,
not
news.
even true. That's the
I
least
know.
true thing you've ever said. We are
If you-
clearly, just to be clear, do we talk about news? Yes, but are we a news podcast? No. We're just here for entertainment.
That's right. Mostly to entertain ourselves.
Exactly.
Hey, how are things going in your life, Melissa?
Things are pretty wonderful. Let's see. Do I have any updates for you? I bought some new couches with my tax refund.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
would give this quick advice to anybody who's stressing about filing your taxes. Go ahead and do it. And you know
Yeah.
what? Claim whatever you want, because what I found is I don't think anybody even looked at my tax return. They just like sent it on through and gave me my money. And it was a real blessing, I'm going to tell you.
We're firing IRS workers and they're not looking at our taxes. And we're
I
super
actually
happy.
think it's true. So if you have a vacation you want to go on or something delightful you want to purchase, now is the time to file.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do I have any other news updates? Yes. Do you enjoy Hostess brand things?
I do from time to time.
Okay. I don't generally enjoy the Hostess, but once a year, Hostess comes out with what I would say is the perfect product. And it appeared this week at Maverick, which is where I get all of my delectable things. It is the springtime only carrot cake donut. And to be honest
Oh,
with you, it's the perfect food. So I bought as many of those as I could and put them in my fridge. And I was eating some of them and I was like, this is the perfect food. I texted my husband and I was like, you're never going to believe it. It's Hostess carrot cake donut time of year. And I'm eating them right now. They're perfect food. And he was like, and how
oh,
do you feel? And I was like, well, my stomach does hurt. It does give me a tummy ache. And there is this nasty film on the top of my
yeah,
tongue that only comes from that. But I'm willing
yeah.
to set all that aside to really enjoy this time of year with the carrot cake. Yeah.
What's the glaze on the donut? Is it a powdered sugar or a chocolate
It's like a
glaze?
coconut. It's like
Oh,
a little
oh,
crumbly sort of coconut. Uh, it
uh-huh.
is delicious. It
Wow.
will make you ill, but once a
Oh,
year, please enjoy.
you know what? Junk food ought to make you feel like junk, and then you'll remember that it's junk food.
That's the other thing my husband said. He's like, I remind you of this every single year at this time that you don't actually really like these. And I'm like, I don't know. In my heart of hearts, I dream about them.
But about a week ago, I went to Albertsons and they had their store-made cookies on sale, chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
And so I bought a bag of them and I was like, "Hey, well, I'll just share them with the family because I think there was 24 cookies in there."
Yeah.
And my son ate one and nobody else ate them, and so I ate like 23 cookies.
Yeah.
I felt so sick at the end of the day. I was like, "Honey, the only solution for me is to not purchase this stuff because if I purchase it,
Right.
I consume it all."
Yeah. Do you like my
Yeah.
2 updates, things I purchased?
Yeah, I like that. I haven't
Okay.
heard about any of your purchases recently.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to the quick clips, Melissa.
Great. What have you got?
The church at RootsTech. Have you been getting all these emails I've been getting advertising RootsTech and why you should come to RootsTech?
Yeah, so many. I feel like it's almost like a multi-level marketing scam or something at this point. Like it
Hmm.
feels so aggressive. I don't care. I,
I
I
don't know how I unsubscribe to those. I don't know how to tell them I want church things, but not these church things. I
I
don't know
don't
how
know
to do that.
either. I don't
Yeah.
either.
Well, as part of that, they had a global youth activity dedicated
Okay.
to like family history stuff. And so general officers of the church spoke and then somebody performed. By the way, it was recorded and it's been made available for on demand viewing for any of you that would like to see it. Okay,
So it's
there's,
strictly for youth to get them involved in family history?
yep.
You want to know why? It's
Okay.
because we didn't respond properly as adults. And so they had to be like, I guess we're going to do it for youth now.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
have you, what is a strive to be artist? Is that someone that's just paid by
Uh,
the church?
you know how they make those playlists that have to go along with the youth theme every year?
Uh huh.
And they play it on the Strive to Be channel, and they make
Okay.
Strive to Be videos. And if you sing those songs, you're a Strive to Be artist.
Oh,
Nat, get
okay.
with it.
I
Get
mean,
with
I don't
it.
know.
Strive to
So
Be
there were
already.
Strive to be artists performed at this thing,
Okay.
and Brad Wilcox was there, and the primary general president was there, and you know what we need is more like events, I suppose. This was just
Sure.
an event. It was like for these poor kids who've never had a chance to go to like a trade show, they could feel like they
That
were
is
at a trade
exactly what
show.
RootsTech is. It's a trade
Yeah.
show. Okay. Elder Raz Band was in the Philippines. And do you know how many temples are announced or currently operating in the Philippines right now?
I'm gonna guess 12.
Oh, good guess. 13. That is so
Oh,
many. The Philippines is
yeah.
exploding and they're getting a lot of temples. In fact, every time I make a temple prediction from now on, I'm adding Philippines to the list.
You have to choose a
Anyways,
city in the Philippines, though. That
no, I
doesn't, you
don't
can't
have
just say,
to. No, I don't.
oh,
No, I just say Philippines.
because General Conference is coming up, Melissa, and
Yeah,
so we'll
I
need
also
some
just say South America, and that counts. Africa, done.
Earth. It will be in
It'll
Earth.
be on Earth. Um, okay, so Elder Rasman shared a message with the saints in the Philippines. I thought it was interesting. He was talking to them about how they are the pioneers for the church in the Philippines, right? Like as the Utah pioneers were for current people who live in Utah. So he's like, you're your family's pioneers. And he told them that they need to rededicate their lives in order to prepare for all of these temples.
Oh, I love it.
It
Thank
was
you, Alder
inspiring.
Rasband.
Yep.
My story is about Elder Uchtdorf.
Hey, I
I
know
think
him.
it's a video he put out there on like social media.
Okay.
But he's telling the story of two times in his life when he was a refugee. One
Oh,
time he
okay.
had to flee Czechoslovakia, and then he had to flee East Germany to go into West Germany. And so he talks about his experience as a refugee as a young child.
Okay.
Do you think there's a context of why he decided to share that now?
Huh. Let's see what's going on in the world right
Mm,
now. No, I don't think
maybe.
so. I don't
It's
think
probably
so.
just random. He
It's
was
just
probably like,
random.
I haven't thought about this story in
In a
ages.
long
I'm going to
time,
make
I'd
a
like to
video.
share it. I've talked a
And the
lot
church is
about
like,
pilot stories, but refugee stories, it's been a minute.
and the church is like, we can make videos. Okay, okay. I've got some stories I want to tell. They're like, wonderful. That's all. That's the
Now,
story.
we're a little cynical. I have another really cynical story. Um, Again, I think the church is doing a lot of marketing right now. And I've always said, like, great church, like, tell us all the great things you're doing. I think that's wonderful. You should be more, vocal about that. But the giving machines are a story that I literally think have been covered every single month of the year. The giving machines, right? Like, first it's like, we're going to have the giving machines, and ooh, who's going to get the giving machines? And then here's the locations, and then here's what might happen. And then here's how you can donate. And then here's what we did. And like, it is such a story. I have
It
another
is.
one.
It's the story that keeps on giving, Melissa.
The giving machines keep on giving. Well, they just put out a story this month about the giving machines, and they would like you to know the impact of your giving. So they've got actual statistics and numbers. My favorite is 2 million meals. That's a lot.
Okay.
500 children vaccinated. And
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm not in
no,
favor of
I'm
that.
sorry, 500,000. Oops,
Okay.
500,000. Only 500 children will be vaccinated.
Okay,
My
okay. I feel
favorite is
better.
106,000 chickens, goats, and beehives.
That is your favorite.
I do. I love that. I didn't know we were adding beehives this year. I didn't see that at my giving machine. So, Yeah.
Chickens came just in time, right? Because although unless they were giving chickens in the United States, it wasn't quite as helpful.
Yeah, they
Because
weren't giving them in the United States.
my son who lives in Germany said eggs are just fine. The price of eggs is nothing. And
Mhm.
you can get a dozen eggs in Germany for the price of one egg in the United States right now. So
Okay.
we
Well,
should encourage them to export their eggs to us.
sure. I
Sorry, that
think
that
I think you
hijacked your
should
story.
rewrite that story. No, I think you're right. I think no, I think you're wrong. Well, the thing about the chickens is not that they provide eggs, but that they provide like business opportunities. Like in the past,
Oh,
the people who've received chickens have like used them to like create farms and then create jobs and then create like ongoing economy for families.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's only on my mind because we decided we're going to get chickens
No,
because we don't.
Matt, don't be that person. You are not.
We had them before. We just had to
Matt,
move, and then I like chickens. They eat the bugs in our yard, and
do your neighbors like the chickens that
I
wake them
have
up
no neighbors.
every morning? You don't have any
Oh,
neighbors.
right.
In the
Well,
same way that I don't have any neighbors, but I can
oh
still hear
yeah.
their chickens every morning.
So it turns out, like in some places, roosters are illegal. So if they don't have roosters, then they won't
Mhm.
wake you up in the morning.
Mhm. Okay. All
They
right.
don't lay as many eggs, but
Mhm.
if you could just get rid of the rooster, then the chickens that lay eggs don't make noise in the morning.
Are you gonna like farmers market your eggs? I'm just wondering how far
My
we're going with this.
my oldest son, if I would allow him, would eat 12 eggs every single day.
You should
So
allow him.
I can't that do you know how it's like at 50 cents for an egg, right? That's a $6 breakfast every morning. So it's like cost efficient to just start laying the eggs and then say, go get the eggs, have as many eggs as you want every single morning.
Okay.
And when he leaves on his mission, we will give them to the people in our ward for free because I do not like eggs all that much. But
Okay. Okay.
when I say we are getting eggs, do you get the sense that it's not so much me, it's
I
more of a
do.
we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. My news story is we've got some temple news.
Always.
Um, yeah, we've got let's see. Let's start with the southwest corner of Temple Square is going to be opening up soon, so you can go visit that. You've always been not always, but recently they opened up the northwest gate side, and now the southwest will be open. So the whole west of the Temple Square will be open.
So you
What
can
I
like walk around Temple Square, but you can't walk to the temple because that's under construction.
There's a big wall there.
Okay.
But they have redone Temple Square in a really nice way. I really like what they've
Oh,
done,
okay.
especially the northwest corner. What I noticed in the photo on the southwest corner is, the building there that's used to be called the Assembly Hall. I don't know if it's
Uh-huh.
still called this. There's now a gate around it. You can't just
Are they
walk right up to.
remodeling it?
They just, from what I can tell, put a gate around it so that you can't just go up to the building. They can
Okay.
lock a gate and keep people out if they want to.
Okay.
I don't know
Um,
why they did that. Like it used to be if you go to see the Christmas lights and you wanted to kind of hide away from your family for a little while, you just sort of sneak into the assembly hall and you could just sit on a bench there for a while and just kind of hang out and do your own thing. But
yeah.
now I think you won't be able to.
Okay.
And let's see, we've got a groundbreaking for a temple in Colombia, and we've got an open house for a temple in New Zealand, and a rendering released for a temple in Lehi, and
Oh,
the specific locations for temples in Mexico and the Philippines announced. And
okay.
there's going to be an open house for the newly renovated Toronto temple, and an open house announced for the Syracuse, Utah temple.
Okay.
Isn't that exciting? All
That's a
kinds
lot
of
of temple
news.
news. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Lehigh and Syracuse have
They're
temples.
basically next door to each other, aren't they?
No, no,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not.
Oh,
Lehigh
okay.
is like next door to American Fork.
Okay, where's Syracuse?
Syracuse is out by West Point, or like
In Ogden?
if you're yeah, near
Oh, I didn't
Ogden.
know there was a temple out there.
There is now.
Oh, okay. All right. I better
Yeah,
get
there's
my
a
Utah geography together and get
yeah.
going to some open houses.
You probably dated 10 different guys who live in Syracuse.
Probably.
Yeah.
You could say that about any Utah city, though. Let's be honest, Matt.
Not Altamont.
Not
Those would
Altamont.
be your cousins.
Not Tooele. Okay.
Hey, did you know, Melissa? This is totally random, but I was at this event at BYU Idaho for people who major in political science, and they're like
Okay.
supposed to get to know professors and stuff. So I start chatting with this guy, and he's like, "My last name is Miles," and I was like, "Seriously, that's my last name." I was like, "Where
Uh-huh.
are your ancestors from?" He's my cousin. He's like my cousin's kid. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Do you remember
Was
Uncle
he
Doug?
from Altamont?
Yeah, he
Sure,
was from
yeah.
Altamont. Yeah, he's Uncle Doug's grandkid. I was like, no
Ah,
way. I kind of know you, sort of, but I've never talked to you
did
because
he know you at all?
no, I
No. Okay.
was like,
Okay.
you could tell your parents that you met me, but they'd be like, is he one of those that never talks to us because he's too good for us? And say, no, he's one of those that never talks to us because he's an introvert.
Or he doesn't know us.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
Anyhow,
if your
random
last name
story.
is Miles, we are probably related to you. And
Especially if you live in Altamont.
especially if you live in Altamont. Okay.
Yeah.
um, Matt, it is time to start thinking about Easter. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we said how President Oaks had put out the official Easter message. And now everybody is supposed to start celebrating Easter, even though as LDS folks, we don't do this very well. But there's
Right.
a whole Easter season, and we usually just focus on Easter Sunday. But it is the season of Lent. Do you know what
Yeah,
Lent is? Do you
I do
celebrate it?
because no, that's a Catholic thing. It's part of the Catholic calendar, but I do pay attention. I do like it goes Fat Tuesday and then Lent begins on Ash Wednesday.
Yes, Ash Wednesday. Do you know about that?
Sure, because when I lived in Kansas, all of the Catholic kids would come to school with ash on their foreheads.
Okay, yeah. So Ash Wednesday was this week, Wednesday, and now it's Lent. Why do you say we don't celebrate Lent? Couldn't we? Isn't it just a time of like giving up something, of sacrificing something for 40 days? Doesn't it represent Jesus's 40-day fast? Like why wouldn't we
So
celebrate that?
the Catholic Church has a really specific calendar when they say these are the date when certain things happened,
Uh-huh.
and Lent is a part of that calendar. And so Lent is part of it's called the liturgical calendar, but it's a
Uh-huh.
part of the days that the Catholic Church is supposed to observe. And so
Okay.
since we're not Catholic, we don't follow that calendar. But sure, you could give up something for Lent if you want to.
Well, I just feel like maybe we should. But
No.
I remember one year, and it's been a while, to be honest, but I was like, I'm going to give up something for Lent. Now, I gave up, this is really a big circle back to what's been happening in my life. I gave up shopping at Kohl's, only at Kohl's. I, I felt I was shopping there a little too much online. So I gave it
Oh.
up for 40 days.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. But I just
You're
there's an
very
article.
religious. I forgot to say you're very religious, Melissa. Good job. That's a good
I
example.
Thank you. I think that's true. I had already thought about what I could give up for Lent this year. And I was like, well, it's not the carrot cake donut. So
No.
it's not that. It's not going to Maverick where that would help me avoid the carrot cake donut. It's not that. And then I was like, I don't know that I need to give anything up. But I was thinking like, wait, could I celebrate Easter better if I did participate in Lent? That's all.
Mm. I don't know. We have our own Easter traditions that we've done like my whole married life. That the whole week of Easter is a celebration for us, where we celebrate different aspects of Easter. So I think we do
Uh-huh.
enough. The only time I really know that Lent is happening is because McDonald's will have fish sandwiches on the menu, and Arby's brings the
Oh,
fish sandwiches on the menu
because you
because
eat fish
Catholics.
instead of red meat?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But you can also celebrate Ramadan if you wanted to, Melissa, or Rosh Hashanah if you wanted to. You can celebrate
Huh.
all the religious holidays that you want.
Okay, thank you. Well, there was an article at By Common Consent, and they were talking about the three pillars that are supposed to be associated with the Easter holiday, perhaps Lent in particular. But I just think this is an interesting read. Listeners, if you're interested in it, go ahead and click on the link. I just think it's interesting because it says the three pillars are prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And I'm pretty good at the prayer part of Easter. I could do better at the fasting. That's where the Lent conversation comes in. But this almsgiving thing, I've never associated with Easter, where it's like you're supposed to give to the poor and to the needy. I mean, I guess that's part of the fast on Fast Sunday, but I really hadn't ever thought of that as a part of an Easter experience. What do you think about that?
I also have never done that as part of Easter.
But it's a good idea, right?
What if the church had
Giving
giving
machines
machines?
for Easter. I knew you were going to say that. Easter giving machines. Then we could have bunnies and chicks and
It's yeah, it seems
so
unfair. They're just letting Easter go away, and they're not doing
oh my
stories
gosh,
in
we've come up
April.
with the next campaign. We are brilliant. Yes, this is the only way to keep it going year round.
Yeah, if you see that, listener, you'll know that we thought of it first,
Yeah.
and that we're just so influential that
And we
the
think
church
it's
was
a
like, "Yeah,
great idea.
giving machines don't have to be red; they could be pastel colors.
Yes. And you
They
could
could fly chickens for
the
people."
the ways we could go forward with this, they're innumerable. Okay. Thanks,
All
Matt.
right, my story is so fun. I love this story.
Okay.
Residents of Pinesdale, a Montana town founded decades ago by fundamentalist Mormons, are
Oh,
suing for the land they say rightfully belongs to them. The breakaway church maintains it was never theirs. So there's like this polygamous group that founded a town in Montana. And
okay.
then there was like some kind of legal fight or whatever, or some people left, like happens among these groups. And now there's a
Uh-huh.
legal fight about who owns this land in Montana.
Okay. While you've been talking, I haven't been listening because I've been Googling where is Pinesdale. First of all, just so you know, population 865. That
Probably
is,
all polygamists.
yeah, very, very small. So I was just wondering if it was one of the towns that I drove through on my way to Missoula last summer because I felt like there were a lot of little towns like that that definitely could have qualified.
This
Um,
town is known for having a town council form of government. It means they don't have a mayor. Whenever there's an issue, the town shows up at City Hall and they vote on what to do about every issue that comes before the city.
hmm, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Uh, okay, so did
They're
you
not
cover
really the
this?
Church of Jesus Christ
That's
of
what I was
Latter
going
day
to ask.
Saints.
Okay,
They're just a splint off polygamist group, but it's okay. It's this week in
okay.
Mormons, and they
Mormons,
call
you're right.
themselves Mormons.
Yeah, we welcome them. Okay, I'm gonna jump ahead then.
Okay.
So the church, as you know, it really tries hard on the social medias, right? Like we've got
Yes.
youth accounts, we've got Relief Society accounts, we've got official church accounts, we've got apostles having their own accounts. I came across an account that I had never seen before by the church. It's called Caring. It's the
Hmm.
church's Caring account.
Do they have a
Um,
Care Bear share or a
yeah, they
Care
have the
Bear?
Care Bear, they have the Lionheart Bear. Yeah.
Mm.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's just caring dot Church of Jesus Christ. And
Hmm.
their purpose, I do believe, is a mental health related purpose. So they like put out tips regularly about, I don't know, improving your mental health and caring for yourself and others, I suppose. I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting, but to this week's post was like, you should try a relaxing activity. You
Oh, I
should
have a good idea.
practice mindfulness. It's pretty
Mm,
basic.
I don't know
What's
how
your
to
good
do that.
idea?
The most relaxing thing you can do is take a nap. Like that's a really good
During
relaxing
church?
activity.
Matt,
Or the temple.
or the temple. Have you ever fallen awake from a deep sleep in the middle of a temple session?
Probably. I probably
I
have.
woke up once, Matt, and I was on the floor. Fallen to the floor because I was so deep asleep. The temple sessions were much longer back then. I'm better
Oh.
now. But
So
this
our temple has this is not related to the story.
yeah.
Our temple has on the very last row there's a double seat. It's like a love seat that folds down.
Oh,
And
wow.
one and one time I was like at the back of the session and so I'm like I want the double seat, the love seat. And so this person comes in after me and he wants me to like get up and move down
Slide
so that
over.
I'm like I want
Nah.
this seat. And he's like, fine. And then he sits next to me. And then you move rooms, right? And so when we were
Uh-huh.
moving rooms, he's like, go on, go on. I'm like, I want this seat. And he's like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm like, it feels a little uncomfortable to like just say like, I want this seat. But
Yeah.
at the same time,
But at
I
the same
really
time,
wanted
you
that
did
seat.
it. You did it. Yeah.
I did.
This very Sunday, which was it Fast and Testimony meeting? It was. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. All I know is I looked up at the stand and every single male person on the stand was asleep. Like eyes closed, mouth open in snore mode. Every single one of them was asleep. And listen, Matt, our church starts at 2 p.m. So maybe
Oh,
it's nap time, maybe.
oh.
But I was like, this is notable, boys. You need to stay awake when you're going to sit on the stand.
I used to be that way, but then I got my sleep apnea machine and I don't feel tired anymore.
Oh, really? I wonder
Yeah.
if it would be appropriate for me to wheel one in this Sunday. I am speaking in church this Sunday, and I might be offended
Oh.
if they all fall asleep. So, how about before I start to speak, I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of wheel it over and be like, you guys just put this mask on? Great. I'm
And
going to
then,
start now.
well, no,
Yeah.
then it'll put them to sleep. They have to do it the night before. They have to
Uh,
sleep with their mask on.
oh, because they aren't sleeping well enough because they
Right.
have sleep apnea.
Right.
I don't think it's that. I think
Oh,
I don't know. Okay. We've talked a lot about managing stress and anxiety and caring at Church of Jesus Christ.
yeah.
Probably more than we should.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, my story is nowhere near so happy. A former branch president from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been charged with raping a teenager. He's
Oh, I
from
think I read
Salt Lake
about
City.
this.
Yeah, he served time in jail already for a previous offense, and then this is another one. So we put a link because some of you are like really into true crime sorts of things and like to
I'm
read
into true
charging
crime.
documents. So you can read all about the
Yeah.
horrible things this former branch president did to a teenager.
Okay, this is the story. I wanted to double check. I just clicked on the link to make sure. Yeah, this is the one where the branch president, after he abused the girl, he told her that, don't worry, I know a doctor who can sew you up and make you a virgin again.
Yeah.
That's what he told
Yeah.
his teenage girl that he
Isn't that
abused.
sad?
It's
Yeah.
horrible. It's
Yeah.
horrible. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a really sad story that we decided to end quick clips on because we wanted you to get so excited for famous Mormons.
Famous Mormons. Thank
Okay. Now
you.
this is very obscure, but
Okay.
all of these people are a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Wait, that's not how this game works. I'm
Well, you're
supposed
gonna
to
have
guess which one of them is. It's
this
fine.
week you're gonna guess which famous Mormon had his name dropped to President Trump this week.
Oh, okay. So they're
So
all Mormons. What does it mean to have your name dropped?
So I did not watch all of Trump's address to Congress because it's the longest one in history.
I
But
did.
I
I
watched
watched all 2 hours.
wow. Okay.
But
So as he's leaving and he's walking out, I can't remember which station I was watching it on, probably C-SPAN. Instead of normally when he's walking out, you can hear like all the commentators talking over him and you don't hear what the members of Congress are saying to him.
okay,
But I was listening to what all of the members of Congress were saying to him as he was leaving and shaking his hand and stuff. So they're
because
like,
they're still mic'd and stuff.
yeah. Well, he has a
Okay.
mic. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're like, great speech, Mr. President. I love you so much, Mr. President. And then one of them said, I'm a new member of Congress. I just wanted to introduce myself. So and so is a good friend of mine. And so they name dropped this person who
Oh, they were
happens to
like,
be,
President Trump, you know this person, and by
Mhm.
association, you should
You
know
should like
me.
me. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I want you to play your game. I really do. But first I have to say this about the speech, okay? Did
Yeah.
you see the two people sitting behind him the whole time?
Yeah.
One of
JD
them was
Vance
the vice
and
president,
yeah. And
the other guy.
the Speaker of the House, Mike
Okay.
Johnson.
Well, I think the reason I was able to watch the whole time was because those boys had their faces trained. Like they were paying
Hmm.
attention, they were nodding appropriately, they were looking alarmed at the right time, they were looking loving at the right time. Like for a full 2 hours, those boys, their faces were on. Now,
Uh-huh.
maybe instead of a sleep apnea machine, I should do some training with our bishopric
Yeah.
slash ward council and
Yeah.
be like, do you see these boys? As we're watching them, I stay engaged with what the president is saying because I'm so amused by these two people behind him. That's
Uh-huh.
you guys when our speakers are speaking. And so
Maybe
maybe
yeah.
model what was going on. Do you think that's too bossy
I
of me?
imagine I imagine Kurt from the Leading Saints podcast probably
Uh-huh.
listens to this podcast.
Oh, yeah,
He could
yeah.
do a whole episode on Leading Saints about the importance of body language on the stand.
Yes. Yes.
That would be fascinating.
You know what? We are really changing the world with our ideas today.
Yeah,
We
we're
are.
we're doing good.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, back to my game.
Thank you.
So the first one, Michael T. Benson.
We
Now,
interviewed him.
yeah, and guess
Okay.
what,
I know
Melissa?
him.
He's moving from Coastal Carolina University to West Virginia University. He got a big promotion. He
I'm
starts
proud of him.
enjoying it. Yeah, Michael T. Ben. Okay.
Okay, well, listeners, if you don't know who he is, you should go back into the archives and listen to our interview with him. I really liked him.
Yeah, he was so fun.
Yeah.
And then once you watch that, you're going to want to send all your kids to West Virginia University because you're like, I want them to have a president like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mike Leach. Do you know who
Don't
Mike
know
Leach
him.
is?
Don't know him.
He was a football coach in Washington and then Mississippi, and then he died recently of a heart attack, I think.
Okay, so here's where I'm going. Virginia could know the president.
Uh-huh.
Washington could know the president. Were we talking Washington, D.C. when you said Washington?
Washington State, but then
Oh.
Mississippi. He went to Mississippi.
Okay.
Okay. Danny Ainge.
Ah, LDS basketball player.
Yeah.
Featured in
Okay,
the book
which
Tall Men, Short Shorts.
that's normally
I'm
how
a
he
reader.
introduces
I'm a
himself.
reader. I don't know what to tell you. Tall Men, Short Shorts. Yeah, I know
Like
Danny Ainge.
I've only like met Danny Ainge a couple of times, but every time I shake his hand, he's like, Danny Ainge, tall men, short shorts. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, I've
that's
heard
what I
of you.
thought. Okay. One of them had their name drop. I'm going to go with who I think is the most famous one, Danny Ainge.
Wrong. It was Mike
Oh.
Leach. Mike Leach.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. May
Well, I
he
hope
rest in
that
peace.
may he rest in peace, and I hope that connection does whatever politically somebody would like for it to do. Wait, was the person who mentioned him LDS?
I don't know. He's a
Oh,
representative from Washington.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay.
New in the house, wanted to meet the president and let him know, I'm an important man, you know. I know Mike
Okay.
Leach.
Okay. Well, Matt, related to famous Mormons, there is an article about celebrities who have opened up about growing up Mormon.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've
some
read
of
this
these you've
article.
talked about, or you've
Yeah.
mentioned in Famous Mormons before. But so you read this article?
Yeah, it was depressing to me.
It was? Go on.
None of them are Mormon anymore. I'm like, can't you find
Well,
famous Mormons that are still Mormons?
probably not that famous. This is like Ryan Gosling famous.
I
Katherine
know.
Heigl. Yeah. From what I can tell, they had very positive things to say about growing up Mormon.
Yeah, they loved growing up Mormon, and they're
Yeah,
just so happy that they're not Mormon anymore.
that's
Amy
true.
Adams.
Yeah. Derek and
Yeah.
Julianne Hough. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, listener, if you're very interested in famous Mormons, which I'm sure you are, go ahead and click on the link.
Okay.
Okay.
Time for big deal, little deal, no deal.
Why does it make me laugh every time you make fun of the way you say deal? It does. All
All right,
right,
I
I'm
go
ready.
first. Here's the headline: Tariffs and their arch apostle. Is
Oh,
that a big deal, little deal, or no deal? 3, 2, 1. No
little deal.
deal.
I don't
Yeah.
know what to make of this. I feel like tariffs are a big talking point right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is this story?
So in 1930, there was something called the Smoot-Hawley Act,
I've heard
and it
of
was
that.
yeah, it's a big deal in
Thank you.
history because it
Thank
was a
you.
tariff that led to the Great Depression. And
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
so Smoot of the Smoot-Hawley Act was an apostle of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And he was a big proponent of tariffs because they wanted to protect the sugar beet industry because we used sugar beets to produce sugar. And that was a big part of the economy in Utah and Idaho back in the day. So this is just
Okay.
an article at By Common Consent talking about that history and tariffs because, yes, people want to talk about tariffs right now. And so why not
Okay.
remind the world of the most disastrous tariff ever, named after a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles?
Okay. I stopped listening about halfway through because I got bored, but it's okay,
Yeah,
Matt.
that's all right.
It's a little to no deal.
I said
Yeah.
no deal. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Here's my headline. I'm sort of egging you on with this headline. Okay.
Okay, okay.
The debate over BYU professors and orthodoxy isn't over yet. Big
Okay.
deal, little deal, or no deal? 3, 2, 1.
Big
Big
deal. I don't know.
deal.
I don't even know what it's about.
Well, there has been all this talk lately about, BYU professors. We've talked about this nonstop and about how they're required to be completely faithful all the time or their job could be in jeopardy, right?
Yeah.
This is another article by the Salt Lake Tribune. It is an opinion article. It's by Matthew Bowman. He's a Latter-day Saint scholar. Do you know
Oh,
him?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
he's a
yeah.
history professor at Claremont.
Yeah. Anyways, he just wanted to shift the conversation, I think, that's been happening around this. And what he's saying is like, there's nothing wrong with saying that BYU professors should be good examples, that BYU should have religious standards. Like, there's nothing wrong with that argument. But what he wants to say is maybe we could shift the way that we look at this orthodoxy thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the thing that I pulled out of the article. I'm going to read it to you. He said,
Okay.
maybe what the university could ask instead of like, are you following all of these rules? Do you pay your tithing? Do you avoid pornography? Whatever it is, instead of going through a list of things that make you worthy to represent the school or not, perhaps instead they could just ask prospective faculty members how they might best support the school's religious mission. Okay, so it could recognize
Mm-hmm.
that everybody practices their faith a little bit differently, and that doesn't mean that you are a good or bad member of the church. And that instead of like going through a list of things, maybe we could say, like, do you believe in the church school's mission, and how could you best support that mission? And
Mm-hmm.
in doing that, that maybe we could promote faith instead of promote obedience. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's saying,
Yeah.
like maybe the church school could be even better if we recognize that there are all different kinds of Mormons or different kinds of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we need them all. We don't only need like strictly Orthodox people. So that's kind of what his article is about. I found it interesting and, listen to this word, enlightening.
Well, Melissa, I don't want to reveal too much information because it's not always. Anyhow, in the last 3 years, I
Uh-huh.
have been in 3 interviews with members of the Quorum of the 70 for prospective faculty at a church school. So
Okay.
I'm really well versed in what exactly does and does not happen in those interviews because I've been
Mhm.
with 3 different members of the Quorum of the 70 and I've seen how each of them do. In fact, I think I could probably sit down with them and say, let's review this interview. This is how so
Okay.
and so did it. This is how so and so did it. How do you think you could do it differently?
Okay.
And from these 3 interviews, in fact, I did one on Wednesday of this last week. I did one just a couple days ago.
Okay.
What I can say is that there is a statement that they all have to read. And the statement that they have to read is basically the thing that you just laid out. The
Okay.
statement says the church has a mission, the university is supported by its mission, and because of that, we expect the faculty members at these institutions to uphold certain standards. And so then they ask you questions about like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about living these standards? How do you do it in your life? How do you feel about teaching at a church school? Why does that matter to you? They ask you
Yeah.
questions about proclamation on the family, if there's anything in there that you have concerns about. And
Sounds
then,
great. It sounds great, Matt.
yeah, and then it's a temple recommend question, a
Mhm.
worthiness interview. And then sometimes they'll add in some questions at the end of that temple recommend worthiness interview. But it really is basically just that. So I
But
think, yeah.
could you be hired or not hired based on the way you answer those questions?
So then what happens, again, based on being in more than one of these with more than one, they have a form that they fill out and they
Okay.
write their summary of what they think about you and your fit with the church institution.
Okay.
And and I would say every single one of these experiences was very positive. The member of the Quorum of the 70 was just gracious and kind and was literally said things like, thank you so much for living the gospel. Like there was nothing like harsh about it. Now, one of them was an exception. One of them was very kind of different, but generally,
Mhm.
and then all they do is there's a little form they fill out. And so they write down, in fact, sometimes they're just typing their answers to the things while you're telling them your answers to those questions. Cause it's like, here's some questions they have to fill out. And then all of that goes in your packet, your hiring thing. If they decide to hire you, that all goes to the board of trustees and they read that little summary that the member of the 70 writes. And then that's it.
Okay. Interesting. That was
Yeah.
actually really enlightening again, Matt.
So,
Yeah, it's really interesting. I
yeah.
mean, is this before or after they determine if you're qualified from an academic perspective?
It's completely separate from it. So it's part of the
I
whole
see.
interview process. but the person that you interview with from the church doesn't even know anything about you, what position you're applying for, any of that.
Oh, I
Nor do they
see.
even care most of it. Sometimes they'll ask, right?
Uh-huh.
Or sometimes it just comes up when like you're talking about why you, but it's not even part of the form. It's completely separate.
Okay.
And BYU, the institution, doesn't see it. It just goes to the board of
Oh,
trustees.
interesting. Interesting. That was enlightening. You know what you should do? Keep this
Hmm.
debate alive by publishing opinion pieces.
Yeah, I don't like in the end I don't know why people keep talking about it. Um I like it was a story or whatever. I understand why people worry about it, but
Yeah.
having been through a lot of these, we could just let Matthew Bowman know, "Hey, guess what? They're doing exactly what you suggested that they
Yeah.
do."
Yeah.
Maybe not in every situation, but generally broadly in my experience of 3 of them in 3 years, that's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah, that was good information.
Okay, my story is the newest LDS apostle says porn addicts can kick their habit through professional help and Jesus love. Big deal, little deal, no deal. Three, two, one. Big
Little
deal.
deal.
No, I
I
like
do
it.
have a couple questions. I don't know. Are we talking about Elder Kieran?
Yeah, Elder Kieran spoke at some conference of people who were trying to stop pornography in Utah.
Okay. I have a problem with your headline, and I know you didn't write it, and maybe this isn't exactly what Elder Kieran said, but it says porn addicts can kick their habit. For me,
Yeah,
this is a frustration that a lot of people have is it a habit or is it an addiction? Because if we use those two words interchangeably, they are not the same thing. And then when an apostle or really anybody says, let's approach this from a kick the habit perspective, that's a completely different perspective than let's deal with an addiction. So to me, the language in this is uncomfortable and perhaps wrong,
I'll tell
but
you
maybe that's
specifically
not
what
what
Elder
he did
Kieran.
at all. Yeah.
I'll tell you specifically what he said.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
said he is not an expert in the fields of pornography or addiction, but
Mm-hmm.
he said he did have painful and heartbreaking personal experience with loved ones entrapped by addictions.
Okay.
And he said any habit, compulsive behavior, or addiction that takes hold of our lives can feel like a never ending battle entangling mind and spirit. It distorts relationships, robs us of self worth, and separates us from the beauties of life. And then he said, turn to Christ for help. And
Okay.
therapists and counselors. He says, you bring together the best of science, research, counseling, and medicine. And perhaps most importantly, those of you who are now winning your own battle to bring life, even your own vibrant life beyond all pain. And that part I didn't understand
Yeah.
as much, but
No,
he's
I'm
basically
fine with
saying,
that
like,
message. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
fine with that message. Yeah, get professional help. Also, lean on the Savior. I think that's a great message. Why? Where did this come from? Like, why did
he
he
was at a
decide to?
conference. Oh, why did he go?
Oh,
It's a conference about pornography in Utah.
oh, I see. Okay,
But I
okay.
I brought the story because you remember a while back we interviewed Dr. Staley, Cameron Staley,
Yes,
on
he
our
was so
yeah.
good. Yeah,
He talked a lot about pornography. He said that it's not an addiction, but he did talk about the tools that are available to help people who feel compulsive urges to look at pornography.
yeah. And what I remember about him, and maybe I was remembering him when I was looking at these two words, because for me, the addiction and the habit thing, maybe that is what I got from Cameron Staley. But I also remember him talking a lot about how shame makes things worse, and we need to just kind of reframe the way that we're looking at this. Because if we're looking at this, or really any sort of a sexual issue from the framework of shame, we're not going to make things better.
I also think that there are members of our church who, when they're struggling with mental health challenges or addictions or even any kind of health challenge, that they say, if I have enough faith, God will take this from me. And I
Right.
appreciate that Elder Kieran is saying, take advantage of all the resources available to you to try to help overcome challenges in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good job, Matt. Would you like to talk about toxic perfectionism?
Yes, I struggle so much with this, Melissa. I'm just beating myself up, wishing I
Matt,
could be better.
it is like the opposite of what you struggle with. Your ego is so gigantic that you could never do anything wrong. Like
I know. I
even if
know.
you even if you did something wrong, you'd be like, "Well, people do things wrong. It's fine. I'm fine."
I
Okay.
feel forgiven already.
I do. I know. I know. Okay. Well, nonetheless, we're going to talk about this. Are you ready for my headline?
Yes.
Toxic perfectionism in perspective. The Latter-day Saints' unique outlook.
Mhm.
Big deal, little deal, no deal. 3, 2, 1.
No deal.
Little deal.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine if you say no deal. This comes from the BYU, the university where they do a lot of studies about things. That's the BYU. They do a lot of
The
studies.
people.
I feel like every month we're like, and now there's another study about BYU, and they're sometimes kind of funny. Like, remember last month it was about favorite siblings or favorite
Yes.
children? Yes.
Yes.
This month
Well,
it's
and this
about
one is
toxic
published.
perfectionism.
This one's
Yeah.
published in a journal called BYU Studies, right? So it's not like
Yeah.
it's New England Journal of Medicine or something,
No,
right?
no,
It's
no,
like,
no.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like some professor had some pet project and wanted to publish it. Probably has something
hmm
to do with the church.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it had to do with like scrupulosity. You know what that is? Where you have like
Mm.
OCD, but in a religious context. So you're like, I have to
Oh,
pray so many times a day, or I have to read my scriptures this certain way, or I have to repent for
oh,
the same thing over and over and over because I don't feel forgiven. Scrupulosity.
I've never
Um,
struggled with that.
no, no, it's not your issue.
Mm-mm.
Anyways, so this this person, Justin Dyer. I think that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Justin Dyer. Yeah.
a religion professor.
Yeah. He said, like, it seems like we always get the message that Latter-day Saints are more perfectionistic or struggle more with perfectionism than other
Hmm.
religions or than non-religious people. So he did a study of 2,000 young adults over 8 years. And guess what he said? Nope, not true.
Whoa.
Yep.
Okay, well now I'm going to
Yeah.
switch to big deal.
But okay, but it is a distinction. It's not perfectionism, it's toxic perfectionism.
Oh, oh. Okay,
So
wait. Wait, so toxic perfectionism is not higher among members of our church.
correct.
Teenagers in our church.
Correct. In fact, it's lower. It's about 12% of Latter-day Saints have high toxic perfectionism. And
Hmm.
if you're atheist or agnostic or former Latter-day Saint, 27%. So double.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah. It is
I mean,
interesting.
I would want to explore this further to see kind of like why religion has
hmm
some kind of role in that.
Okay.
But
Well, I
that is
think this
interesting.
is important to say. So, um, healthy perfectionists, so not toxic perfectionists, they set high goals, but when they don't meet those goals, they're disappointed but able to adjust and move on. Okay.
Hmm.
Toxic perfectionism is thinking that your worth is tied to your success or failure. So if you fail, you're less worthy. I
Hmm.
do feel like that's a very LDS thing. I'm shocked that it's
The
not.
atheists would be twice as high in that.
Me too. It's shocking,
But
right?
perhaps this is why they don't go to church. Perhaps this is why they
Yeah,
disidentify with the church is because
because it doesn't
they're
feel
feeling
comfortable to
shame.
be there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyways. Anyways, yeah.
If you are a Latter-day Saint teen who struggles with toxic perfectionism, if you're one of that 12%, let me tell you from perfect personal experience, you're okay. It's not that bad. You're going to be
It's really
just
not.
fine.
Listen, Matt, I couldn't agree more. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned as a high school teacher, and listen, parents get freaked out about the decisions their teenagers make. And what I
Hmm.
want to say is I work with these teenagers all day long. I see them through 4 years. And guess what? They all figure it out eventually. Right?
Hmm.
They all figure it out eventually. So like let them go through the process of figuring it out, and teenagers, let yourself go through the process of figuring it out. You're not supposed to be perfect right now,
That's right. Or
unlike
really,
Matt, who does
no,
believe
see,
he is.
I can't help it. I can't help it.
You
And
do believe you're perfect, not that you're supposed to be, but that you just are.
I just am. I see all of the flaws and say those were meant to be.
Those are fine.
Those are part of the perfect whole.
Yep.
Okay, this one's also related to religion. So it
Okay.
says a Pew study, Pew Research Center.
So
I'm not just
different than the BYU.
yeah, yeah. They interviewed like 36,000 people.
Okay.
It shows how Latter-day Saints' political and social views have and have not shifted in the past 20 years. Big deal, little deal, no deal. 3, 2, 1. No.
Big deal.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, I'll just go with whatever Melissa says on this
I
one.
think it's great that the Pew Research study studied this and that it's a 20-year long study. I'm interested.
Well, yeah, they just do it every so often, right? So the last one
Okay.
was in 2014, and I've been
Okay.
waiting for the new wave to come out because they do get such great information. I haven't actually dived into the data yet, but I have friends that have. But here's what they report in the Salt Lake Tribune. Of those raised in the church, a bit more than half, 54%, still identify with the faith as adults, which is down from
Hmm.
70% in the 2008 report.
Yeah, that's a big down. Okay.
Uh-huh. 52% of the church members are male, up from 44%, and then 57% female. So they
So
say we have, I
how
mean, I
could it
don't,
be how could it be 57 and 52?
yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Reverse
Um,
polygamy is in our future.
so like these ones, when you just say, oh, look, there's more men than there were in 2008, there's so many different things that could change, right? We don't really know
Mhm.
who's coming and leaving the church
I
based
see.
on just that overall thing.
But it
But
doesn't mean that we have an overwhelming male population in our church.
yeah, it's like half and half, right? 72% are white,
Okay.
6% are black, 12% Hispanic. I actually happen to know these demographics because I do enough surveys in the United States, and that actually looks really close to the US population.
Okay.
So the racial demographic of church members actually really is close to the overall population of races within the United States.
Okay.
Except for we're down with Asians, we're only 1% Asian.
Are Filipinos
Um,
Asian? Because they're going to rededicate their lives, and I think we're going to see a big swing
yeah.
there. Okay.
Well, this is only the United States. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, then, so much for my comment. Disregard.
Yeah. Okay. The finding on gender makeup comes at a time. Yeah, it doesn't. The rest of it is not really from the study. Someday I'll do a deep dive and look at this and see more about it. But that's the study from the Salt Lake Tribune. There's
I hope
also,
you'll write a book about it, Matt.
it's coming out in September, but it's
I
not
know.
about this. Um, But the New York Times, Ryan Burge and somebody else, they did a really good write up of like the state of religion in the United States right now. They did an op ed in the New York Times. So if you're interested in like wanting to, because the Pew summary is like
Mhm.
40 pages. So if you
Wow.
don't want to go through their summary and you just want to read the short little thing, Ryan Burge has something in the New York Times you can check out.
Okay, cool. All
Hmm.
right, Matt. Utah explains. What the heck is Mormon cuisine? Big deal, little deal, no deal. Three, two, one.
No
No
deal.
deal. It's
Yeah.
no deal. But Matt, I just wanted to ask you, what's the most Mormon food you eat?
Funeral potatoes. Really just
Okay.
potatoes.
That's
Casserole
number one.
potatoes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's number one of Mormon cuisine. The number two is pastrami burgers, which I didn't
I
even
love
know.
those so much. Oh my
And
goodness,
number
I
three
do
is
love
Jello,
those.
which we don't even eat Jello anymore, do we? I haven't
No, it's
had
kind
Jello
of,
in a good decade.
yeah. I bought Jello when my son got his wisdom teeth out, and he ate none of it, and we've
Okay.
not eaten any of it. Yeah.
I think the most Mormon thing I eat is fry sauce.
Oh yeah. No, it's actually dirty soda, Melissa. Dirty soda is the most
Oh, I'm
Mormon thing.
such a dirty soda drinker. You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did
That's
not
all.
know pastrami burger was on the list. Oh my goodness. Have you been to like Apollo Burger or Crown Burger and had the
I don't really
pastrami
like
burger?
burgers, but yeah,
I
but
don't either.
I like the dirty soda. Okay, that's
Okay.
all. It's no deal. I just thought it was funny.
Okay, here's mine. By bringing in
Okay.
a slew of 5-star prospects with no connection to Utah or the LDS Church, BYU basketball has shown how quickly a school can change its standing in the modern era of college sports.
Oh,
Is that a big deal, little deal, or no deal? Three, two, one. Big
big
deal.
deal. I didn't know
Yeah.
they were recruiting non-LDS players.
So, yeah, of course. LDS kids
Well,
aren't that good.
no, I thought they'd always like gotten LDS kids.
Mm-mm. No. They just have to
Okay.
obey the honor code for that year that they're at BYU. And we have these
Okay.
really, really rich members of our church who want BYU basketball to be great. And so
But
there's
don't
people
we
out
want
there
them to be
paying.
great LDS players? Is that not? Now I'm really frustrated by this, actually, Maddie, because we care so much that our professors represent orthodoxy, but our stars on television, because they are big stars, we don't care one whit.
Yeah.
That's weird. And we're going to pay them all kinds of money.
We want to win, Melissa. We want to win basketball. We
No.
want to beat the powerhouses, because BYU has never been great at college basketball. They had the Danny Ainge years, they had the Jimmer Fredette years, and other than that, and even then they're only like Sweet 16. And now they want to
Mhm.
be like Final Four. They want to be like
But
a
Danny Ainge and Jimmer Fredette were both LDS.
yeah, they're great guys.
I
I
know, but I'm
love
just
them.
saying, like, that's why I remember them as BYU players because yeah, they've always had LDS players. That's been their thing.
I feel like it was a better missionary tool when they're members of the church that are really, really good because it kind of
Yeah.
brings attention to that. I don't know how it will
Yeah.
be. I don't know if people will actually think about how they're not members of the church.
Hmm.
Like BYU, as an analogy, now I know this is going way back, Melissa, but as an analogy, BYU football wasn't known nationally until Jim McMahon came along. And Jim McMahon, if he was a member of the church, was not the most word of wisdom living member of the church.
So
And
he
so
didn't live the honor code?
maybe he did while he was a football player, but definitely not when he went pro, and definitely not when he was a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's like I can't explain. I don't, Melissa, if you had $7 million, are you going to spend it on having a kid come to BYU and play basketball?
Yeah, because that's the whole point of the BYU. Is that not what the whole story for months and months has been about? Is that this is what BYU is for? It's for religious education, it's for
Mm,
religious orthodoxy. Yeah, this
yeah.
is frustrating to me. Also, do you think tall men in short shorts follows the honor code? Those shorts were pretty short.
I don't know. Do the cheerleaders' skirts follow the honor code, dress code?
They make their drill team dance in like full length sweats and
Oh boy.
cover
Oh
ups.
boy.
Yeah, they don't get to wear let's
Wow.
see what they would call immodest clothing. I would call it dance wear, but yeah, they don't get to wear that.
Too bad for them. I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm not into dancing, but I would imagine like baggy sweatpants, that's way easier to dance.
it's not. As a dancer, I will tell you, it's not.
It's sometimes if you can't hear your legs going swish, swish, swish when you're doing the moves, it's hard to keep the rhythm. It's easier.
Okay. Wow. Well, we know a lot about what we're talking about today, so let's carry on. Now,
Hmm.
if you listened last week, you would know that the twin sisters talked about the show The Bachelor. Okay?
Hmm.
That is what my headline is about, but we're carrying the story forward from where it was last week, okay?
Okay.
The Bachelor comes to Star Valley, Wyoming. Big deal? Now listen to the tone of my voice when I said it so you know how if it's a big deal, little deal, or no deal. Star Valley,
No.
Wyoming. Three, two, one.
No deal.
Big deal.
I agree Star Valley is a big deal, but The Bachelor is where it's like no deal.
That. Listen, I don't watch The Bachelor. And I don't think that Star Valley, Wyoming is home to more than maybe, again, 800 saints. But I read this article from the Deseret News and I was very, very impressed with the positive light it gave to our church.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So the bachelor, he got to do a hometown visit because the Latter day Saint girl who was on the show is very, very, very much falling in love with him. And he's
Oh.
falling in love with her. Yeah, they're
Oh.
falling in love with each other. And it's gone far enough that they got to do a hometown visit. So he came to her hometown of Star Valley, Wyoming. Here's the thing, he was nervous, and they talked about this on the show about, meeting her family because he knew that they were a very big Mormon family and that their religion is important to them. And he doesn't know a lot about the religion, but he did not like the way that his mom raised him. She was religiously strict. And so he
Hmm.
was worried that he was going to be going to another traditionally religious, very, very strict family. But he said, but I'm falling in love with you. And she said, if you're going to, marry me, it's really important to me that we raise religious children and that you love my family because they're a big part of who we are. So he said, okay, let's do it. And you know what? They went and it went really, really well. And do you want to know what they had at the hometown visit?
Funeral potatoes.
A dirty soda bar. A dirty soda
I was
bar.
hoping it was going to be a pastrami burger.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been.
Wow.
Anyways, it went very well. It showed our faith very positively. And
Hmm.
interesting turn, there was another finalist who also came from a religious family, not LDS. And he was doing a hometown visit with this other person. And guess what? Her family wouldn't even meet him
Good.
because he was not religious enough for them. And they have religious beliefs about dating and marriage, and he didn't meet those. And so they wouldn't even meet him on their hometown visit. But our church, who still has,
We're pretty
some
strict
we're
religiously.
pretty strict religiously about dating. They welcomed him, loved him, invited him into their family, and I think presented the LDS faith really well. So big deal.
Do you know who else is from Star Valley, Wyoming?
Danny Ainge?
Sister Bednar, Elder Bednar's wife, is from Star Valley,
Oh,
Wyoming.
really? I didn't
I
know
don't know if
that.
I don't know if we can get to the Bachelor producers, but be like, hey, do you know another famous Star Valley, Wyoming couple, the
Yeah,
Bednars? Like,
yeah,
maybe the
yeah.
Bachelor could. He would have to
Maybe
join the church
she could
before he
host
could.
she could host the wedding shower,
Yeah.
Sister Bednar,
Oh, and
right?
there is a temple there in Star Valley.
Yes. Yes.
I I stopped watching The Bachelor. I never watched The Bachelor, but one time I Googled how many people on The Bachelor stay married, and it's like
Oh,
none of them. None of them stay married.
uh, no, you don't need to be so worried about that.
Oh, okay.
You don't need to worry about that. Yeah.
In the end, we can say it doesn't matter. You're not going to
Mm-mm.
have children with this woman. You're just going to make a television show and perhaps give her a really expensive ring. You
Mhm.
don't have to worry about what your life will be like together with her because
No.
that never happens.
Yep. Yep. Thank
Which is
you.
kind of sad. Like you would hope that when a person's relationship starts out one of 30 women and it's a kind of a game show atmosphere, you would hope that that would always lead to lifelong love, but it
I
doesn't
don't think
always.
I'm going to Wayne hypothetical on The Bachelor. I don't think I really.
Do you know my hope for her? My hope is that
Uh-uh.
he doesn't marry her and she becomes the next bachelorette. Cuz imagine all of the
Oh,
publicity for the church if she was the bachelorette and
yes.
there's no romance in the honeymoon suite. There's none of that
Oh,
stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It would
Okay.
be like
Okay.
Twilight meets The Bachelorette. It would be super
Once
fun.
again, our ideas are changing the future of this world.
Now, my story, I don't know how to pronounce the name of the Secret Housewives, the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, but I'm going
Okay.
to try. I'm just going to say her
Okay.
first name. Okay,
Okay.
so there's my story. Mormon Wives star Jesse documents $2,000 nose job after being insecure about it during filming. Is that a
About
big deal?
insecure about her nose?
Yeah, when they were making the
Oh,
television show, she's like, "Oh, I do not like the way my nose looks." And so she
okay.
decided to get a nose job.
Okay.
And
Okay.
okay, 3, 2, 1, big deal.
Big deal, but
Yeah,
probably for a different reason than you. A
it's a big deal
$2,000
because
nose job is probably a really good price because I'm
yeah,
getting nasal surgery in a few weeks, and it's going to cost about $5,000. It's not a nose job, but I'm very aware of the price of nasal surgeries, and $2,000 is a great deal. That's a big deal.
maybe she had mostly a really good nose in the first place, and they didn't need to do very much.
Oh, okay. No, tell me your story. I don't know.
No, that's all. There's a bunch of stories in People magazine about these secret lives of Mormon wives. There's another one, Macy Neely. She's going to release a memoir that they're really excited about. And
Oh,
the nose job,
okay.
I say, way to go. Like, there was a time when members of our church would have been ashamed to say, I'm getting a nose job, or they would have not been public about plastic surgery, despite all of the billboards I see whenever I drive through Utah. So I say,
Mm-hmm.
good for Jesse saying, I'm going to document it. I'm going to let everybody see what happens and just being open about it
I
because
see.
I like people being authentic to who they are and not pretending to be somebody they're not.
Okay. Okay, and this Macy Neely, do we think her memoir is gonna be pro LDS or not so much?
I read about it. She went through a really dark time in her life.
Okay.
She was a BYU tennis player. I don't remember, and
Mm,
I don't know if this happened while she was a tennis player or not. But she, her first marriage didn't end well. I think her husband died actually, and
okay.
so that she's just had some trauma and some difficulty in her life. And so her dad said to her, "Get out a little black binder and write down everything that you feel." And so she just poured out her soul into this journal And so the memoir is, she's like, it's been 10 years in the making, and I'm finally going to tell my story. That this, like, now's the time to tell my story. So I don't know what's in it. She doesn't really reveal a lot about what's in it, but
Okay.
I like people
Oh,
writing
yeah.
their stories and sharing them.
Yeah. Yeah, the Mormon wives, they are getting, the bang for their buck when it comes to publicity. So, you go,
I want
girls.
We didn't have time to talk too much about this story this week, but there's a man out there that has a blog. I forget his name. I think his name's Dan. But anyhow, he was talking, and we've talked about this before, that he doesn't like the way that Hollywood portrays members of our church right now. And we also did an interview recently with somebody in Hollywood who feels the same way. And so he's out there making movies of his own to say this is the way we ought to portray things. But just like I think in politics, sometimes things, like if you just watch politics on the news or on social media, you feel like the whole world's an angry place. But if you just
Mm.
talk with people, it's not like that. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes members of our church are misrepresented in the public sphere, and it's not really reflective of how we really are as church members. But I don't know that, I don't know. It was just a blog post, and I said I like what he said,
Yeah.
and we didn't have time to discuss it in greater detail, but I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Matt.
Melissa,
You
we
gonna
have
give me
time.
Yeah,
We have
give me
time
some
for
Mormon
only
history.
we
Oh,
only one of them
only
this
one.
week.
Okay, okay.
Picked this one just for you.
Oh, okay.
175 years ago,
Holy moly, that's a long time ago. What year is that?
1850.
Okay.
Originally named the University of Deseret, the University of Utah is the oldest state university west of the Missouri River, founded in Salt Lake City on 28th of February, 1850. The school's first term for men only in November of 1850, but the second term was open to both women and men.
Ah, what a great school. The University of Deseret, aka University of Utah, aka the True Lord's University. What a
Think
great
of
call.
think of this, Melissa. The 1847 is when the pioneers get to the Salt Lake Valley. And
Oh,
1850, 3 years later,
we've
they're
got a
starting a
university.
university.
Yeah, that is amazing. You're right.
And 1851, 4 years later, it's a co-ed university. Like, that was
Yeah,
not happening anywhere in the United States.
you're right.
Like,
That's fantastic.
you barely have anything, and they're like, we better start a university. So,
Yeah.
University of Utah Utes, you should feel proud of yourselves for being the first university west of the Mississippi, and the first university, first west
Yeah.
of the Missouri River, and the first one in Utah. And you should feel sad about yourselves that you're no longer as great as you once were,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
because your basketball team is not as good as BYU's basketball team, and that's how we
Hmm.
measure everything.
Yeah. This week in Mormons. That was
Hey,
great, Matt. Thank you.
remember, listener, you can subscribe to Patreon and get bonus content for just a couple dollars a month. Um, we've already plugged our interviews that we do on Twim, but we think you should keep watching them and give us feedback on them if you want to talk about them. If there's someone you want us to reach out to, let us know. We'll reach out to them and invite them to be on the show. And you can send us email if you have any feedback at contact@thisweekinmormons.com. But mostly, we would just like to thank you for listening to the original Mormon/Latter-day Saint news podcast. We cannot wait to talk to you again soon.